Morning, how you doing? Canon just released the new Canon EOS RP, and a lot of people complain about that it doesn't shoot 24 frames per second. So in this video, we're gonna take a look how big of a deal is it actually. So what is 24 frames per second? So you have the length of 1 second and it shoots 24 frames within the second. The same when you shoot 30 FPS, then you have 30 frames in this 1 second, or 60 or 120, depends how fast your camera can shoot. So I made a little sequence with all the different types, like 24 frames per second, 30, 25, 60 and so on. And we're gonna switch right into it. So as you can see here, I have the time code here, the frames, and it's like 24 frames, this video sequence I will call it, in a 24 frames per second sequence. So if I play this right now up, you can see the frames. It's super quick, as you can imagine. If I just scrub through it, you can see, or let's go tab by tab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and so on. You get the point. So 24 and 24, it's perfectly. So it matches like the video to the sequence in Premiere Pro in this example. If I go now to 25 frames per second, that means one frame has to be skipped to be fit into this sequence. If you step through it, you can see, I already checked it, it's the 24th frame. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25. So it skips the 24th frame. The same then with 30 frames per second. So when the video has 30 frames per second or NTSC and you put it in a 24 frame timeline, you will miss then 6 frames to get from the 30 to this 24. And I checked it already out. It's the 4th, 9th, 14th, 19th, 24 and 29th frame of each. So you go from this, you can see now it skips from 13 to 15. So there is a lack of some frames because some frames has to be dropped. The same with when you go higher, it's now 60 FPS, and you can see it doesn't go all the frames, which it used to be, 6, 5, 7, and so on. So in total, to go down here, 60 FPS, to put it in a 24 frames timeline, you have to lose 36 frames. So in total, it was easier just to write down all the frames that are actually there, but it's all just hocus pocus and nonsense. And the rest I checked with 120 frames per second. So you can see it skips like every 4th frame, or you just have every 5th frame. Bam, 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 until you hit the 1st second. So 120 frames is 1 second. Then I did the same for a 30 frames per second timeline. So you have the sequence again, the video clip with 24 frames per second and 30 FPS in your sequence. Means 6 frames has to come more, or has to be doubled somewhere. So if I go through now, you go 1, 1, then already the 1st frame was a double. So I checked it already, so the double frames, so it has 1 frame and it stretches out to double, and this is how it can add up like to this 30 frames per second. Check, 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 you can see it here. I'll go for you further down, so you can check here. It's like the 8th. You can see I tap 7, check, and you can see the indicator here. Like 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13. So this is how this works when you put a 24 frames per second video into a 30 FPS sequence. So if I step now further, for 25, of course, there has to be just 5 frames added. So the double frames is then also 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20. And of course, if you go then now back to the 30 FPS sequence, it runs perfectly fine. And then when you have 60 FPS again, it has to cut down 30 frames. So every second frame, as you can see it here again, it's like 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So that's just the technical side of things. But are you actually gonna recognize it? And for that I made a second example. This is 30 FPS. This is 24 FPS. You tell me the difference. And last but not least, this is 25 FPS. You ain't gonna see a difference, do you? And of course, if you look then really closely into it, you can see the double frame. Like here in the beginning, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. There, it's standing still in this one sequence. But hey, so in conclusion, does it really matter if you shoot 25 FPS and put it in a 24 frames per second timeline? I don't think so. This one little frame ain't gonna make a big difference for you. And when people say, whoa, there's some stuff missing, I said, you probably ain't gonna notice it. And the other point is, of course I don't understand Canon why they put not the 24 FPS option into the camera. That makes no sense to me. And my first thoughts on the new EOS R RP, EOS, that's a weird name, EOS RP. I love it that it's a full frame camera again, and it's like the cheapest full frame camera you can get from Canon. You have the great dual AF, you have, okay, a shitty 4K with the crop, it's not as cool, but besides that, I'm thinking looking into it. Although maybe the battery and some issues I can have with that. But for the 24 FPS thing, I don't think it will be a big deal. So that's for now. See you next time. Ciao.